complaining to us about her, how upset she was that we left her.
Right.
And all
Like,
the things that happened.
You're a cat. You're self-sufficient.
Yeah.
You know?
And I don't know what you're saying.
And the cat knows, like, if it poops outside of the box, like, I'll clean it up. And so I think it was trying to get my attention because there was a lot of poop outside of the box when we got back.
Yeah. She would only do this when we leave town. She would take a shit right at the front door, like a foot in. It was every time when we get back from Ohio or from out of town, front and center, just a big welcome back, fuck off.
I need a mute button, like a cough button.
Yeah.
Don't they make those like floor mute buttons or something?
Yeah, they just go in line with your XLR. Yeah. Who's here? Who is here? Almost
Jeremy, Paul, Eric.
Link, I forgot the bat signal almost. It's been a while since I've done this.
Yeah.
Bat signal's out. Jeremy, Paul, Matt, Eric. Cool. Alright, let's go to our faces. There we are. What's up, everybody?
Hello.
Welcome to the live stream. We're about to start a show.
Yeah, we are.
Thanks for all you summer peeps showing up to say hi. I think we are good. It is time to do a shoe. All right, everybody feeling good? Everybody feeling good? I'm going to hit record on my recording device. Everybody let me know when
rolling
you're
as well, yes.
live, and I'll go ahead and we can do a sync clap.
Audio file. Going. Okay.
Cool. All right, let's do a little sync clap. It'll be 1, 2, 3 clap. Here we go.
Okay. 1, 2,
One. Oh,
3.
I'll do
You
the
do it.
I'll do the count. You do the clap. 1, 2, 3. Cool.
That's funny.
All right.
1, 1,
And,
2, 2, 3, 3, 3.
I think we're good. Stream is good. Let me get my notes. I feel like I'm forgetting something. I hope I am not. But
Jeez, $111 for a mute switch. You think there'd be one like just on the shore? Like the Yetis had a mute switch that you could just click on and off. You know,
yeah.
it'd be nice if you could just click. All right, let
Yeah.
me cough a whole bunch and then whatever.
Well, maybe Mograph can buy us some cough
Mute
buttons.
switches.
Yeah.
There you go.
All right, here we go. What's up and welcome to another Mograph Mocast. I'm Dave.
And I'm Matt, and joining us today is our good friend, the super talented Brandon Parvini.
Hello.
And Mograph is a supplement to our site, mograph.com, which is a motion graphics tutorial site with tutorials, plugins, podcasts, and other Mograph stuff. And on the show, we talk about everything ranging from motion graphics to Cinema 4D, After Effects, plugins, render engines, doing business, doing taxes, being a contractor, or working for the man. You can email us, info@mograph.com. Let us know what you think about the show. Questions, comments, concerns, queries, grievances, artist suggestions, and topic suggestions. We're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, mograph.com. Check us out on all the things and send us your questions. Noob, expert, doesn't matter what it is. We will answer it in the most awful way possible, which is
Unless you
from our
send us an
experience.
email telling us that you can help us with our SEO, then we're going to ignore that email altogether.
I'll just reply. I love the ones. I was just going through your site, and it is so amazing. I would suggest
I was going
that
through your site, mograph.com.
mograph.com, and I noticed that you insert. Yeah. Anyway,
I really liked your tutorial 001.
yeah. I get a lot of those. I get a lot of
Yeah.
PR ones. I think we're on some sort of list now, and it's like so and so would
Yeah.
be perfect for your show. And you go look at the link, and it's like somebody who's an expert in like SEO and
Yeah.
good at like business CEO conversations. It's like, have you ever listened to the show?
Yeah, I don't think you've listened to
No.
our show.
No, you have not. I love that.
Chances are it's no.
Some of the shows I listen to, some of the podcasts I listen to actually never have a guest, right? It's
Yeah.
always just the two people, and they get them too. And it's like, this person
Yeah.
would be a great guest for your show. It's like, our show has never had a guest ever. But whatever. I'm guessing that works for some people. But send us your emails. We have an email from Ricardo who says, hello there from Portugal. Hope you're both safe and well.
Hello.
I love the podcast. It's a survivor. Few are left for motion.
Yes,
in
it
3D.
is.
We are coming up actually on episode 300.
300.
And
Yeah.
we got nothing planned. We have nothing
Nothing.
ready. I don't know what we're going to do. It's been
This
too
year
too
has gone
busy.
by
Oh my gosh.
fast. I was just realizing today. It's
know.
August already.
How?
It's like, dude, it's almost the end of the year.
I
It's
know.
August. It's basically the end of the year.
It's basically
know?
time for pumpkin spice lattes and then Christmas.
I know,
You know?
Dave.
That's
Yep.
it. It's great.
Yeah.
Yep.
He also says our show is his company at 5 a.m. For morning workouts, and hopefully someday I can go to Camp Mograph. I believe it's a wonderful idea. Thank you, Ricardo. And Ricardo has some topic suggestions, which are great. And so I put them
Okay.
in the show later on during the topics segment. Brandon's been on before, so we don't have all the regular things. We don't have to go all the way through your backstory and do Mograph recommends. This is we'll be hitting some other topics today, I think.
Yeah.
And
Good.
I'm not worried about filling time
Right.
with Brandon on this show.
I know we could
What
just
does that mean?
yeah.
That
You-
means
yeah.
I can ask you one question and you'll talk for like an hour and a half, and we
I
can
don't know
just
what you're
sit back.
talking
And
about.
all
I
right,
don't know-
cool.
I don't know what you're talking about. I am incredibly concise with my words.
You are concise. You are
I'm,
concise.
Yeah.
quiet, I'm a quiet guy. Easy.
You're one of
peasy.
my favorite people to just sit there and listen to.
Yeah, my wife says the same thing. Only she says that because she's like, if I'm tired, I'll just ask you something and I'll fall asleep while you talk. I'm like, thanks.
That's rude.
Yeah.
Rude.
She means it with love. She's like, no, it's soothing. It's soothing. I'm like,
Right.
great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Matt is back from vacation, and
Yep.
it's been a long 2 weeks
Yep.
for both of
Still-
us.
Still have an upper respiratory infection.
Still.
5 weeks later.
Yeah,
Yep.
It's not
So
good.
working on that. Love the American healthcare system. It's great.
Yeah, and we've got
Oh, yeah.
a lot going on, and I kind of had a little neck injury, so I was trying to maintain the best I could while you were gone, and also
You
ended
did
up
fine.
laying in bed for about 7 of those days. I wasn't able to even sit
Yeah.
up or stand. Something got pinched in my neck, and the pain was really bad. But besides that, I was having motor function and like numbness in my right hand, which as an artist is not a good place
Yeah.
to be.
You start to
So-
worry. Yeah, I was worried for you that you lose an arm or something as an
Right?
artist. That's your bread and butter right there.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I always
Yeah.
wondered what would happen if I went blind.
I've always
you
been
know?
worried about my eyes, and then I never even thought, oh, what if something happens to your hand? But
Yeah.
I used to be when I was on the road years ago, like 20 years ago. I did live graphics and lots of computer stuff for concerts, and the truck drivers for the show, there was this guy named Mickey, and he was a character, but he called me the Wizard. And he had this accent. He's like, it's the Wizard. Nobody knows what the Wizard. And he'd always say, those fingers are insured for $1 million. And it's like, I never thought about that. I need hand insurance.
Yeah.
Yeah, just like Taylor Swift has leg insurance, right?
Does she?
I think her legs are insured. Yeah,
Huh.
that's funny.
Interesting. I don't know why it wouldn't be the rest of her body too, but I mean,
Oh.
I mean, you think the singing voice is probably the most
Right,
important
yeah.
part, but whatever. So yeah, there's that. And I somehow with this, I still can't feel like the tip of my finger, and I'm just trying to go business as usual just to try and exercise it because my hand's super weak. So built a little deck yesterday for a shed that we're putting up, and it was not easy doing that, like not feeling it. You know, you're trying to like use a drill and carry lumber and all that. But I posted a TikTok of the lumber because the plywood was super expensive. It was like $80 a sheet, which is insane. And I posted a TikTok about, I got a great deal for $320 worth of plywood, and it's just the 4 sheets sitting there on the driveway. And I have had 34,000 views on TikTok. I'm like going viral now. So
here's the thing that I think TikTok.
Yeah.
I think TikTok does what I think they do, because this is one of your first posts as your personal account, right?
It's my third post.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I think they take one of your posts and they like push it to more people in order to inspire you to create
keep
more
going.
content.
Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised.
Absolutely. Like almost I've heard from everyone that like one of their first posts will almost always go viral, hit that 20 to 30,000 people mark, you know?
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just
So
give you a little bit of that taste.
Yeah, give you a little taste.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I finished
First one's free.
It rained on me because I did a second TikTok where I was upset because it started raining. I was only like 20 minutes away from being done with the stupid deck, and it started like thunderstorming, right, for like hours. And I posted another TikTok and it only got like 150 views. So, you know.
Yeah. How many followers did you get from that?
Not many, maybe like 10 or 20. But yeah, I posted me looking through the blinds at the rain at my deck, and even if the sky comes falling, you know, if you're a TikToker, you know what that is.
Right.
But so that was going on, and the lightning was really bad, and it knocked out my AC. So if you hear my portable window unit going here during the show, you'll know why. Just giving you a heads up for that now. Let's see. Camp updates. Let's do some camp updates, and then we're going to get into the actual show here.
I mean, we got some. There's not really much to update since I've been out of town for 2 weeks.
Can you talk about COVID policy right now, just for people who are wondering?
If you're curious about the COVID policy right now, we've got a. If you go to campmograph.com/COVID, we've kind of got like a rundown of everything. Here's the thing that I've noticed after spending 2 weeks at Disney World, in maskless Disney World, you know, like the difference, and then, you know, having known camp, like you're not going to be as close quartered with people as Disney. You know, as Disney. Yeah, right. Absolutely. You know, there's, you know, we've capped the amount of people, so and it's a huge camp. So, you know, I think the social distancing and stuff will be fine. We're encouraging those who aren't vaccinated to wear masks if possible, you know, or anyone who wants to feel safe or safer, you know, to wear a mask.
But we're going by the guidelines of the camp and the state.
We are going. Correct. So, yes. As of right now, I think Oregon just reopened because they hit 70%. They're one of like a few states that have hit 70% vaccinated adults and stuff like that, or 70% of the population. So, you know.
So we'll just keep an eye on that, because there's a lot changing, obviously, with Delta variant and things, and so policies are going to change, and we're going to go by those policies, whatever those are. You know, we have to abide by those.
I personally am not too worried about it. You know, I know some people are worried about travel and stuff like that, but, you know, we'll keep everyone updated. For anyone coming to camp, make sure you check your emails, you know, watch out for your emails, because we'll probably be sending something out. We're almost a month away from camp, so, you know, we'll be sending out we'll be sending out a welcome packet and everything to everyone once here in the next couple weeks, like kind of giving an idea of what you need to bring and so on and so on. And I think you've got like maybe a week left. For anyone who's planning on using the shuttle or something like that, we need to know, because we need to build out that schedule. Right now, we don't have as many people implementing the shuttle as we had anticipated. So, you know, it's fine. that's totally fine. You know.
Also, if you are somebody who is a listener and somebody bought the tickets for you,
yes, I think
do
we
have
have all of
everybody?
that figured out.
Okay.
I think we have all of that figured out. Yeah.
Okay.
We had a few people who we had to send off emails to because one person bought like multiple tickets.
Right.
And like we didn't have any of their like information, but I
Yeah.
think we're set
Okay.
now.
All right, good.
Um,
Just a reminder, if
and,
you bought tickets for a group, make sure we have all the other people's information like
absolutely.
yesterday.
Yeah. So and we got in some of the cool swag. Check out these.
You should go through the sponsor list and show each
so
one
let's
as
go
you
through
do
the
it.
sponsors
There you
list.
go.
And I'll show you all the cool patches that we got for each of the sponsors. So we'll start off with our village sponsors. We've got Maxon, with the then let's
The
see
new
who
logo,
else we've got. We've got Video Copilot. Yeah, these cool patches. You get to put them all over your backpack. Super excited about that. Let's see, where's the other one? And then we've got
You have
our
to
other
sew them
village
on, or
sponsor.
do you stick them? You sew them on.
So here's the thing. Yeah, you have to sew them on. There was some miscommunication with the people who was making them. I said I wanted iron-on backing, and they didn't do the iron-on backing. And I just checked them, and I was like, "Hey, where's the iron-on backing?" So maybe we'll get some iron-on backing, but yeah, I mean they're not too hard to sew. I've done it. And then our last village sponsor, Otoy, with the sweet Octane logo. You'll be staying in the Octane Village. Let's see. Then our gold sponsors. We've got Minimal Massive. Look at the sweet logo right there. And then we've got De Facto Sound. Oh, these ones look so sweet,
that's
man. The color
nice.
on these ones look great. Yeah. And then
is that gradient done in stitching?
It's not a gradient, yeah,
Looks
but
like
the stitching is. Yeah, it's really cool. They did a
wow.
really good job.
Dang,
I was really
that's
happy
nice.
with the
Okay.
logo. And then look at these. These are great. Then
Love
Grayscale
that.
Gorilla. You got the gorilla head. Yeah, it's a patch. So
That's cool.
those are our gold sponsors, and then our bronze sponsors. We've got A Scripts and School of Motion. So big shout out to all of our sponsors. We're really happy that they sponsored camp, and we're super happy for them for helping us out. They help keep the price of tickets low, for everyone, and very affordable. So it's gonna be fun. You'll get those patches in your swag bag. For camp, which is gonna have a lot of really cool stuff. I'm really excited about it. We're gonna make it cool.
I got some boxes of stuff to give to you. It all got shipped here, so got swag bags and all sorts of stuff. Yeah. And
one other thing, and I'm not sure if we're officially announcing it. I should have talked to Mark before the show. But we did have a change up on one of our fireside chat speakers. Unfortunately, TJ will not be able to make it, so we've brought in another speaker, and we're super excited about it. I don't know if there's been any official announcement yet.
Yeah, maybe we should.
I don't think so yet. Yeah, I'm gonna hold off on anything, but make sure and listen. Because I'm super excited about the new speaker, and they're gonna be great. They're gonna be great. Yeah. So, we're really sad that TJ unfortunately had some stuff come up that he wasn't able to make it, and so and we've also got a few surprises as far as guests coming to camp.
I know.
We've invited. It's gonna be a lot of fun. So but Camp Mograph. If you got any questions for those who are coming, feel free to shoot us an email, info@campmograph.com. And thanks to all of our sponsors and all the many people who are coming. So
cool. Before we get into it, I would like to just do a quick Ravcock. What's your flavor?
What's your flavor?
And I don't have any Octane news this week. What I was planning on doing was updating all my stuff while you were gone, and I did not do that because I need to get on the new cinema and the new Octane and everything now that my projects are done. And start doing that. But Redshift wise, we talked about this briefly, like for a second on the last show. But Redshift has moved to subscription model.
Subscription model only. Yeah.
Subscription only, and there was like a really long thread on this on the Redshift forums, and there was one in particular. I'll put a link to the thread, and it's a bunch of people discussing it. And every time anything goes to subscription, people are upset. Like literally, anything goes to subscription, and
I get it.
But here's the thing: like, part of me was like, Redshift isn't subscription? Like, because in my head,
mean,
we're
yeah.
renewing it every single year anyway. To me, it
Yeah.
already felt like a subscription. So I was like, oh,
Yeah,
well,
yeah.
it's the same. Like, it's the same price. So the only difference, I guess, is that
You don't actually own it. You don't.
right
Yeah.
before,
I
if it
mean,
would lapse, you would
here's the
still
thing,
have
like,
it, but like then you don't get updates. So
we originally, I mean, we have the perpetual license of Redshift, and then we also upgraded a Maxon 1 anyway, you know, so we have those as well. I
Right.
mean, Maxon 1 is worth it as it is, especially if you're using Redshift.
But one
you
of the
know, and you use a
pluses
lot of the Red Giant stuff.
with the subscription model now, the version of Redshift that you get works across all it's all DCCs. It's not
always
just,
been that way.
The subscription one I thought was always Maxon.
Oh, I didn't know.
Was only for
subscription one. Yeah,
Yeah.
subscription one was like that. Okay, that's good.
Yeah, subscription now you can use Redshift and Houdini or something else, and you couldn't do
That's
that
cool.
with the Maxon 1.
Yeah.
Yeah, Maxon.
Oh.
You know what I'm saying? You would get the Maxon 1 subscription that would come with Redshift. It would only be Redshift
Uh-huh.
for Cinema 4D.
I didn't realize that.
I'm not
I
talking
didn't
about
know that was
the
case.
original Redshift, like by its standalone, yes. But the
Yeah,
one
yeah,
that
yeah.
came with the Maxon subscription was just Cinema, and now
C4D.
it's all of the things.
Interesting.
Yeah, I think that's
interesting. I
part
didn't know
of the
that.
deal. So, I don't know. I mean, Brandon, how do you feel?
It's
About
fine.
subscriptions in general? Just not just this, but like all these people that are like, oh, we're subscription now. You know.
You know, I don't really have a problem with subscription. Ultimately, I do like having the ability to at least have like a legacy piece of software that you have around.
Mhm.
So if you let your subscription lapse and you have to kind of now go and reinvest back in and catch back up, I can get it. The thing that's driving me just nuts right now is having to navigate each one of these Kafka-esque like systems that keeps changing every 6 months.
Mhm.
Where I tried for 25 minutes to get into my Substance Painter login.
Yep.
I have been giving them money and
Right.
not using it
Right.
every day
Right.
for years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the other day, I wanted to use it, and it took me 25 minutes before I realized I'm not going to use it.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm just not going to use it because I put in this login. Nope, that one doesn't work. Well, what about this login? Well, no, that one doesn't work. Okay, well, okay, so what if I download my license? Here's a catch. You're no longer you're now out of your maintenance, and the last install you did was like a month after your maintenance ended.
Mm-hmm.
So there was all these things where I had it perfectly lined out where the installs I had would not open, and in order to download the old enough version to then open it, I'm just like, you know, we make jokes about the American healthcare system, and like some of these software packages aren't much better.
Yeah.
Right.
So, so my thing is just whatever you're gonna do, just stick with it.
Mhm.
Right.
Just pick the system you want to go with, and let that exist. Even if it's not great, be consistent.
Yeah.
It's the same system as with restaurants. People go to Denny's not because it's great food, because they know exactly what they're going to get.
Right.
Yeah.
And so as we keep having acquisitions and changeovers and this new model, that new model, this new bundle pricing,
Like with Adobe right now, like with the Substance. It's like I don't even know how to use it if I wanted to right now.
Yeah.
Just like you said, it's
Yeah.
like
I don't. Yeah, and it's like we're not even on the Substance plan, are we? I don't
think
even know
though,
if we pay
like
for it.
we
It's such-
just did
That's the
something
thing,
with two
like,
licenses.
You start
It's like
signing up for all these
Yeah.
things, and unless you're using them daily, you
Yeah.
know, you don't even know whether you're still paying for it or not.
Yeah.
You know.
I mean, I know I gave them like a couple $100 this year,
Mm-hmm.
but I couldn't open the software.
Right.
So I'm like, where exactly do I exist here?
Yeah.
Like
Here's the thing
Yeah.
that I do like. Like I like the model that Maxon does for like the 1 month, you know, and Insidium does this as well for like 1 month, you know, if you need it for 1 month. Because while we were working on our last big project, you know, we brought on a couple of freelancers, you know, who didn't have licenses themselves, and so we just, you know, do a monthly subscription, and they pay for themselves almost instantly, you know, off of like just an hour of work for our freelancer or whatever. And it's like, yeah, that is worth it. It's nice to be able to scale up and scale down like that. You know, I really like that model, but it's where you've got to pay for a full year of stuff is kind of, you know.
Yeah.
And then the stuff you don't use regularly, you know.
Right.
That's the hardest part.
Yeah,
the stuff that you don't like.
It's like, did we have a subscription? Did we buy it? Is that a license? Like,
right.
I don't even remember. I don't know what our substance is. And it's like, okay, now we want to put it onto Creative Cloud and pay for that monthly. Is that going to be worth it? And does anything transfer over? I don't know. I have no idea.
Right.
Like, there's too many things to keep track of.
Yeah, totally.
And it's easy for the company that's doing it. Like, it's easy for Adobe to say, well, all they got to do is move this over here. It's like, well, yeah, but you're forgetting that everybody owns like 100 pieces of software. And that it's not going to, everybody's not going to remember that. You can remember it because that's all you do day in and day out.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Trying to retrieve a RealFlow license is like, or a Forester license. Oh boy, you know, trying to retrieve one of those.
Forester's been better lately. Forrester's been better, I gotta say, but
Still to this day, my favorite piece of software as far as licensing goes is ZBrush. God bless them.
Yeah.
I don't know how they did what they did, but the fact that I gave them $600
years ago.
And I'm still getting updates. I'm still like, you know, the software just keeps evolving. You know, it's like investing in Apple early on. It just keeps giving you free stuff.
I feel like eventually they've got to get there. You know.
Yeah, that shoe's is gonna drop.
Yeah, it's I don't know.
I think it depends too on like if it really feels like it's worth it, right? Like I feel like paying for Cinema 4D on subscription is worth it, and the new versions come out and you get new stuff and they're constantly updating and you know they're doing something, right?
Yeah.
But there's some pieces of software. I mean, look at Adobe. Oh my gosh, like exactly what are we paying for that we're getting more value out of?
Yeah.
Like,
thank you for allowing me to have the advanced Adobe Acrobat so that I can edit my stuff like 3 times a year, you know,
PDF.
or InDesign or something like that.
But how many new features are you looking forward to in After Effects and Premiere and Photoshop? Like, I just use the same tools all the time, over and over, every single day. Nothing changes. I could use the one from 10 years ago and still do what I'm doing on the daily, right? Still paying for it, though.
Yep. Been paying for it since Creative Cloud came out.
Yeah.
It's all right.
Yeah.
The one for example, like when Grayscale Gorilla came out with their subscription model, I was very iffy, you know, and I was like, oh, I don't know, you know, but after signing up for it for like a trial for like a year, you know, it's like that's the one plugin other than like say X Particles or whatever that I found that I use all the time, you know, and I will re-up that one every year, you know. That one is worth it to me because there's so many tools and stuff like that available. I feel like, you know, once maybe like once the tool set grows big enough, subscription model starts becoming more valuable. I don't know.
Yeah,
maybe.
Well, I mean, I think the hard part that you start getting into though is we start getting into like the cable package, like bundle issue, where it's like if the package starts getting too complex, then that's where the bloat starts coming in of like how many extra pieces of software am I actually paying for that I never really wanted. Like I actually do, one thing I do appreciate, you know, is I like being able to like very like systematically go in and just get 3 Octane licenses to go and get onto the 3 systems I need to go do, right?
Yeah.
And that is, I know exactly what that cost point is, and I can go and just get the one thing, right? And so like the fact that now I can go and I can get the cinema licenses, and spool up when I have a bunch of artists that are coming in that I want to make sure we're all running on matching versions and all that. That's great. But with a lot of these setups, it gets very difficult when you start having to like get just that one piece of software I wanted, and and not be like, okay, that's fine. I'm gonna get 37 pieces of software because I had this one that I needed, and and that's it all ends up feeling like like I'm dealing with Spectrum.
Yeah.
I mean, in a perfect world, the artist could have an a la carte system that's only that like can, I don't know, use AI and figure out some sort of subsidized prorated price for the amount of time you use it. That would be kind of nice,
right?
But it's like, oh well, we notice you only use Substance 10 days out of the year, so we're gonna. But yeah, that's too complicated to figure out. Maybe in 20 years.
It's the gym membership. It's the gym
Right.
membership. Eventually, it's going to be too hard to cancel a membership.
Yeah.
Like that's my one gripe. That's my one gripe about Maxon's site is that like it's actually very hard to like figure out how to cancel a subscription.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Like, I had to cancel, one of our temporary licenses, and I couldn't figure out how to do it. It's not easy. You have to like go into your invoices first and then click on a thing and then click. It's very confusing.
Adobe, Adobe, gosh, I don't even know what that must be like. They probably try and convince you to stay, right? Give you a discount price.
They're like, oh, we'll give you, a discounted price for a year or something like that.
That's the Spectrum
Month
Comcast method right there.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Have to call. You're gonna have to start calling once a year to ask for your daily or your yearly discount,
right.
like you have to do with AT&T right now.
Right.
I mean, that's basically what I've been doing with Adobe for years. I'm like, I'm gonna go, and
I'm gonna do it.
Every single time I drop myself, right back down to that perfect pricing.
Nice. That's funny.
So.
Yeah.
Well, tell us what you've been up to. I want to know what you've been up to. We haven't chatted in a while. It's been at least a year since we sat down.
Geez, oh man, what have I been up to? I mean, I always talk about these projects as if they're just like new socks. They're only new until you've worn them and washed them once, and then it's like every single other project you've ever done. Yeah. I've been just kind of cranking away, still hanging out a lot. With BMO, Brandon Herzl over there. I did some work over with Elastic last year. Just wrapped up this documentary that I was working on called Fathom, that is now out on Apple TV. That was like one of my moonlights last year. Just wrapped up work for the new branding campaign for Why the Last Man on Effects, doing some last little bits on that guy. That was a fun one. That one was cool because it was literally like right in vein with like some of the NFT stuff that I've been kind of tooling around with a little bit, and then having someone be like, "Hey, can we do kind of like a painty, handcrafted look in 3D?" I'm like, "Yes, yes, we can." I've been kind of doing some, some back of house work, starting to kind of pivot my head back more towards some of just the management structure and kind of infrastructure headspaces, like, so starting to move the conversation away from the box a little bit, which has been interesting to get myself back to there, because I really haven't been thinking about that kind of stuff since I left Ghost Town. But now, we have some stuff to announce in the coming days and weeks, and it's been a lot of business hat stuff that is really stressful. But but it's cool though, because it's I think for me, I do deeply love this line of work, and when you put yourself in a position where you're not just so concerned about the work you're making and yourself as an artist, but starting to think about others and how you protect and take care of others in the field, and whom you bring into your studio, and how you how you conduct yourself. It starts bringing up a lot of these kind of more core issues, especially for, us gray hairs, of like, what are we doing? What are we doing to take care and make this place better than how we found it? And I think that's been a really interesting conversation that we've been having on our side of like, what are we doing to actively kind of evolve the landscape and rethink what it is to be a studio, what it is to, what it is to take care of artists that you bring in, if freelance or full time, and so it's been interesting to almost get a little bit. There's like visual theory that I've talked plenty on, but then you start thinking a little bit about like conduct and what it is like good practice in our industry, and you start kind of like having conversations of what makes a good producer, what makes a good artist, and those are like really open-ended conversations. But when you start building like a value structure into the studio and into your approach a little bit, it does make you take some stock, and all of a sudden, I don't, having as many of the conversations about some of the render engines and about some of these things. You're starting to talk a little bit about like what it is to take care of the humans that are involved in this craft. So that's been kind of like a lot of the core work that I think's been happening recently. Along with just what just feels like a deluge of projects. I mean, if you're not busy, go phone a friend, because I'm sure they are. If you're not working and you want to be, reach out. Because you as long as you can move a mouse and show up on time and have a decent attitude, there's not much reason why you shouldn't be working.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like, have y'all seen an uptick in work since COVID started?
Yeah, I mean, so last year there was a weird period, I'd say, coming into the summer, where we caught, like, we were working, we were busy, but there were weird projects, and like some of the usual suspects were gone. And
of course,
and then as we came into the fall and winter, things started picking up, and then at the kickoff of the year, it just went bananas, and it hasn't stopped. And that happened at the same time that that these these fungible tokens showed up. And that created a huge crunch, because basically we're a really small industry, and so we lost a ton of top tier artists
to NFTs.
To basically another industry. Now all of a sudden there's a massive brain drain that happened, where usual suspects and artists that you would count on to lead teams and build projects around, they were gone. And so there's an opportunity for what you would have hoped for is for a lot of people to kind of like go next man up, so to speak, and you start bringing up juniors that were hypothetically working under those people. That didn't happen. And so what ended up happening is people just got spread thinner, because you couldn't slot people in fast enough that you knew enough about to really get the projects done. So everyone started doing more stuff than they had been, and their focus got spread a little thinner, as everyone was, instead of doing 2 to 3 projects, it went to 4 to 5, 6 to 7, and and all of a sudden everything was just getting a little a little more scatterbrained. So it's been interesting, to kind of clock all the stuff. But yeah, I mean, there's definitely been, that uptick of work has just been faster and faster. The big thing that caught us was production feeling like they still knew how to do it, and they forgot about the fact that no one had been on set or had gone through a lot of these motions for the better part of a year. And so the amount of problem projects that showed up,
really,
of just people being out of practice, You know,
Yeah.
little stuff, getting, which person didn't get approvals or didn't get sign off from this stakeholder at this point in time, and then all of a sudden, like, 8 weeks later, someone's like, hey, you didn't loop in Jim from from global marketing. He has opinions. So the project's done. No, it's not. We're bringing it back around. And so it was a little Wild West, I'd say, in the beginning of the year. Just because everyone was like really excited to get back up and running as far as clients went. But everyone was just moving really fast. And it's kind of one of those, it felt like everyone being back on the playing field, having not done any activity for a while. And so there's a lot of pulled hamstrings.
Yeah. And it feels kind of like, to me, we had quite a few big projects come in the door, which is great. But I feel like a lot of our small clients have just kind of been floating around and haven't had anything. And maybe some of them don't even exist anymore. I don't know. There's people I'm like, well, I wonder what they're doing. But we're so busy. It's fortunately.
Yeah, we've got a few clients that we've had for years and years and years, and we haven't heard from them in a few months, which is
I don't think they're doing anything.
It's not it's not big work. It's always really small work. But
it seems like the smaller ones might be going out of business or don't have a lot of funds or whatever. And so it's like the work is still here and we're still completely slammed, but the clients have changed in the last year and a half or so.
100%. Yeah. Well, I mean, and also too, we even the landscape changed. Like, I could usually count on 2 to 3 physical install groups, that we'd be working with over the course of the year. That wasn't going to be showing up. And those were always bigger builds. They were really technically sophisticated, and there was a lot of money that went into that. So I'll be intrigued to see in the coming weeks and months, how some of the stuff kind of re-evolves. You are starting to see some of that physical build come back. Concert work's going to be an interesting one, but I mean, those are big industries. Those are, and so just to see them poof right off the table, was interesting.
We did concert.
What will be very interesting to see, especially talking about how we're kind of spreading ourselves so thin with all this work and having lost, people. It's like you've got a few industries that aren't around right now. And once they come back, how much more are we going to spread ourselves out?
Right. And that's a kind of a big chunk of it is so there's the need for an expanded footprint. There's the need for new talent to show up. And I mean, resourcing is very difficult for people right now. Trying to find those new people, is incredibly difficult when there's not even like the socialization factor. As it existed, things like SIGGRAPH and NAB and these meetups, even small scale community meetups that have kind of evaporated. It's very difficult, to get your name out there and to in turn, be able to resource properly.
And you really want to get to know the people. You don't just want to go up on a Slack and be like, hey, I need somebody that knows X protocols. Like the interaction that you get when you do a local meetup or SIGGRAPH or NAB or whatever it is, you really get to know these people over a beer or whatever it is and get an understanding of their personality, of their work ethic. You really find out more about that person and how you're going to be able to interact with them on a regular basis.
Yeah. No, that makes total sense. I mean, a lot of it too is with and we were talking about this recently, is with the remote work, there is a lot more autonomy that you're asking for those people to have. And so your ability to trust them, because if you're not working in the same time zone, it just, you need to make sure that they understand what the, what the ask is. Yeah, the expectation, the ask, and can we hit our, hit our deadlines?
Yeah.
So it's going to be, it's going to be really, really interesting. I am excited I think there'll be a whole bunch of fresh faces that are going to be quick to be pushed to the front as soon as people can kind of start interacting a little bit again.
Yes.
Right.
Because I
It's
feel like we've
absolutely. I completely agree with that, because every year at like NAB, you know, there's always, oh, who should I watch this
Right.
year? You know, there's always that thought. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, check out this person. This person is new, you know, and they're good.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And so without that, yeah, absolutely. I mean, the motion show has been great,
Yeah.
but I think one of the big problems with the motion show, or at least like booking with the motion show, is that, you know, Matthias normally travels so much that he gets to meet all these people, and so he's able to bring in new people, but we're
Right.
not traveling right
Right.
now, you know?
Right.
So it's like he, you know, with every motion show and stuff like that, he's got to go to some of the old, you know, good old reliable people,
Right.
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
as well
Yeah.
as, you know, some of the people that we've had before, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, exactly. You know, and yeah, I mean, hence why I was on
Yeah.
recently. You know, there's nothing fresh about what you know about what I'm bringing to the table, but like, but yeah. So I think there'll be hopefully a lot of excitement though, as you know, once we can kind of get people back into the meat space a little bit.
Mhm.
You know, I don't know how fast we are going to be doing that, but I know you can feel the build of anticipation for some of it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know, and I feel like I also just feel like too that like there'll be an excitement of even being able to compare notes. You know,
Yeah.
of just like you know, but a lot of that small talk just gets I think lost in a lot of the online discourse forms. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does, and
It's
then the
hard
nuance,
it's
even
hard
the
to
nuance.
tell tonality.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
with
exactly.
people. So you don't know whether people are being sarcastic or, you know, or
Yeah.
not.
And,
you
and that's
know?
what is so great about like these meetups, and especially with Matthias going to all these meetups, is like
Mhm.
if you want to get the work and you want to get noticed, obviously you have to, you know, practice and get good at it. You have to be good, but also you've got to kind of find a way to stand out. Think about NFTs, for
Yeah.
example, right? NFTs blow up, and now there's so many people doing NFTs. The people that stand out are the ones that are doing something very gimmicky or, you know,
Yeah.
unique or special or something, right? When you go to these
Or
meetups, there'll
the
be like
ones
one
who
or two,
as of right now, who keep going.
right?
You know?
But there's
'Cause so
going to
many
be
people have fallen off.
you have to kind of put yourself out there at these things too. You go to a meetup, Matthias will see, oh, here's this person that keeps popping up at these events, and they've got a really good reel, and like more people are starting to notice them. I don't feel like you get that sense, and when you're not doing in-person meetups, and then I'm afraid that sense of community is going to fade away in this industry because of the fact that COVID's happening and we're not hanging out and whatnot.
Yeah.
You know, there's that feeling. There's that feeling going to NAB with all the Maxon people and meeting the new people and saying hi to old friends. That like I don't feel like, you know, a 21-year-old right now has experienced. Because COVID happened right when they got out of college, and like they or even Blender people. Think about Blender people. There's because of COVID, all these people started learning Blender because they were bored, you know, and you can see it. You can see it in stats, you know, and those people I don't feel like understand how special that community aspect of motion graphics is.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. No. I mean, I think the positive is the fact that there was a long time that we had, you know, no community, and it was built kind of brick by brick, you know. I mean, you know, by a lot of the efforts, you know, like Paul and Matthias and what they put together, and so it'll come. I think it'll snap back. I think that muscle memory will come back relatively quickly. I just think it's nice to see that the NFT stuff cooled down a little bit, because what it did is it really boosted the tribalism, and everyone started pulling back and recoiling into smaller discords and smaller cliques. And it really brought to the surface that, you know, everything was super chill when everyone was being able to get drinks and you were being able to kind of like rub elbows and everyone was all kind of just working. And then when people that were next to you started going stratospheric, and everyone's trying to understand what was happening, and you basically have people that are just kind of being like assenting, you know, but like just being, but feeling like someone, like a hand just, you know, came down and plucked them, brought them up, and you're like, oh, they're no longer on my playing field. Oh, okay, and that's happening while you don't get to hang out with anyone. And then all of a sudden there's feelings and there's opinions and there's conflicting feelings and opinions. And all of a sudden you just start feeling everyone kind of recoiling and finding those who had kind of the most matching, you know, or safe, safe groups, and everyone starts pulling back into these different corners of the industry. And this is even like amongst even like within Mograph.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, I know what you're saying.
And, you know, and things start feeling a little unchill.
Yeah.
And, you know, and it's relaxed a little bit, and time heals a lot of this stuff as, you know, as it's wanted and known to do. And also too, it's like, again, once people actually get to hang out in the meat space again, it's going to ease so much of it up. Every fight or, you know, disagreement or Jets and Sharks moment usually is resulted in just not being able to spend 5 minutes with someone.
Right.
Yeah.
Where all of a sudden that separation, you start being able to kind of create these narratives of what someone else is thinking or why you think they're thinking that way. And then all of a sudden you get everyone into the same room and you're like, that's right.
There's people that have kind of gone into like you said, these little corners, whether those are like smaller Discord groups or, you know, whatever. And then I've heard plenty of stories about this where like it's like, okay, I'm going to this Discord because I'm comfortable here, right? And then this group of people starts hanging out and doing whatever. Well, then something happens either on Twitter or somewhere on social or something, and somebody gets alienated from that little group, and then they're like, oh, now I'm over in this little group. And there haven't been a lot of issues on our Slack per se. There's been one or two little things that have happened where I've been like, you know, I don't see what the issue is here, and I'm not discounting your issue at all or your feelings or whatever, but I do feel like if you and this person in particular were sitting with us at a table right now having a beer, this wouldn't have been an issue at all because of that nuance of how people act. It would have been fine. And so
well, I mean, the other element too that gets pulled into it, you know, and we're walking real far from Mograph right now, but like, you know, but also too, it's like I would talk about this idea that we were on this kind of Monster Hunter vibe for the past 4 years, right? Where, you know, with the political discourse being where it was, and there was this kind of body snatcher moment of like everyone kind of pointing at each other, being like other, you know, and you know, and then when, you know, when that resolved itself to its own degrees, that energy is going to get shifted somewhere else. The Monster Hunter vibes are going to go to other places, and you could feel it because there's such a direct correlation of seeing like the ferventness in someone's social media posting or you know, or Slack posting on a socio-political, and then all of a sudden it gets swung over to these more community-based conversations.
Right.
And it's that same energy, that same vigor, that same tone. And I'm not discounting what the comments were, but the passion that was existing in these other places, you just see them getting moved around a little bit.
Right.
And again, it's all just getting fueled by just not being able to be in the same space to realize, like, you know, oh, that's right. I loved being able to like sync up with this person or talk about these other things that, you know, just like shooting the proverbial shit, you know, that you're not going to do on Discord or on Slack in the same way that you would do, you know, barking over a drink in an overcrowded bar.
And everybody's on edge because of everything in the
Everything.
world.
Yeah.
Literally everything. You've got
Yeah.
whatever's going on in the world, but then you've got the fact that most people are still semi-locked down for the most part
Yeah.
when it comes down to it, and the anxiety of that, and what's going to happen, and where's the economy going, and do I have enough money saved, and am I getting enough? Do I have enough business lined up for after I finish this project? You got all that going on in everybody's lives on top of it, and
Yeah.
so
I mean, place on top of that, the the element of even like COVID reflection that was happening, when everyone was like really in the throes of it, right? When you've been locked with everyone, that there was an interesting moment by midway last year where you were trapped in a room, and if you lived in New York, or wherever it was, you have the ability to get up and leave, right? You can get in your car, you can go somewhere else, you can get a cup of coffee, a beer, whatever it is, right? And when you don't get to do that, and you're stuck in your house with the stuff that you've bought, and the house you can afford, and the people that you're with, and all of a sudden you are forced to like directly engage with the life you have built for yourself up until this point in time. And people people have you can't just go out and and just break the tension of it. It's spinning plates, and you have to keep all the plates spinning. You have to keep going to work, and you're doing that with the idea that you are directly confronted with the success level or failure in your eyes at that point of your life when you are stuck in the physical box that you have provided for yourself. This is what your life has netted you up until this point in time.
Right.
It's not the coffee bar. It's not the coffee shop down the way. It's not the cool movie theater over here. It's not the great restaurant or the sushi that you love to getting across town. This is it.
Yeah.
And so there's this existential element that people are just trying to kind of keep bottled under the surface with a lot of this stuff too. So it's it's 4D chess. So the fact that anyone is pleasant with anyone at this point is thrilling to me. Because it's a lot. It's a lot to clock.
Going down that road, let's just continue, because we don't really have a lot of topics here. Let's just continue going down this path here. So what do you do personally? What have you been doing to kind of keep yourself sane. Yeah. And balanced and feeling. I don't know how you feel. I want to say and feeling okay. Are you feeling okay?
Drink heavily. No. No. I mean, honestly, it was a big conversation for myself. Last year, that COVID reflection was. I think that was actually a big motivator for me to rethink the idea of being freelance. That I've been doing this since 2005, let's say, approximately. And this idea of being on a treadmill and just constantly working, not really doing it as a freelancer, I was no longer mentoring other people. I wasn't taking care of other people. I was just providing opportunities to maybe work on a cool project together. And so it felt like I was just dating all the time. And it wasn't really going anywhere. And the industry wasn't getting any better. It was actually going backwards in my mind. And I was like, well, I'm never going to change anything unless I can basically put roots down and start kind of picking a direction a little bit. And so it forced me to kind of start thinking about things a little bit differently, and it started feeling really good actually to do that audit and and to look at areas that I liked and areas that I didn't like, and try to figure out ways to enact some aspect of positive change to the best of my ability, right? But so that helped, I think, with the existential. Because I think one thing with Mograph in general is that it is a retirement-less field at this point in time. And so if you
unless you're people,
right, or you can figure out, you can figure out a mechanism in that kind of way. Yeah, you're gonna be making till you're dead.
Yep.
Because it's not really, or unless you're saving, and
Right.
we can get into rich dad poor dad conversations.
Right.
But so it's not. I mean, we were just talking about the fact, what happens if you break your wrist? What happens if what happens if I throw a wiffle ball at your eye?
Yeah.
Like, these are like fundamental things that, like, as you get older and things start breaking for seemingly no apparent reason.
Mm-hmm. Oh man,
know,
that's exactly what was going through my mind, man. Because my injury was just my neck for no reason, really.
Okay.
And that's the getting old thing. It makes you start going, hey, wait a minute.
Like, are you a good enough art director to be able to direct a team of exactly what needs to happen? Would you become a TD at that point? Would you become just client services? Because if you can't click, like, these are things that start coming up, and they're not really talked about because it's a really difficult conversation. It's a young person's game in many ways.
Mm-hmm.
So, these are all things that, like, I wanted to, like, really confront for myself at like a fundamental level. And look, I'm gonna be making something until literally I'm dead at the table. Like, I've been drawing since I was 3, and painting and doing sculpture. Like, I like making stuff. Like, after a long day of work, what do? I walk around outside, with a twitchy kind of scratch on my neck, and I come back inside and I start making something else. And I log back in. I always have something that I want to be picking at. But there is these elements that, like, I'm trying to get into some of these, like, these topics that are just really easy to kind of skirt under the rug because it's just kind of an inconvenient conversation to have. That being said, this was being able to keep my routine of, like, my morning, of, like, workouts and things like that, and just try and take care of my body.
Yeah.
That felt really good. Being able to kind of be more intentional about some of my relationships with people that, like, friends that I consider like brothers, that you let too much time slip in in between calls because you have something going on, and it's like, well, I got nothing going on, so let's chat. So trying to hit some of those kinds of things, but I just miss camping. Like, I miss I miss screaming at someone at a bar for reasons that I won't remember the next day. So you won't be able to fix all of it without being able to have a return to that to some of those kind of informal actions, I feel like. But it was good. Sometimes being put in timeout and you have to think about stuff for a few minutes on those timeouts. That's what I kind of felt like that's what the opportunity was. Is, you can't make things about poor me or us or what you're losing out on. I really try to keep an attitude where this is an opportunity to tackle something that has been inconvenient to tackle up until now. And so if I can't do these other things, what is this moment screaming at me to deal with in a very direct way? So it became about these other kinds of things that were really easy to push aside because you were just always a little too busy to handle it before.
Right. Yeah, I was going nuts after 7 days sitting there not able to do anything. I'm always like, man, I need a vacation, and then when I get it, I have about a day, and then I'm like, I want to go sit in front of my computer and make something cool again. So and it's that passion, I guess, for most of us, which is why we want to do this in the first place, because we like doing it. Might get stressed or whatever, but at the end of the day, like, if I only work 8 hours a day, then I'm done and I go work out or do whatever, shower, and then I'm sitting there and it's 8 p.m. and my option right now is to watch TV or just go work on something cool, like, or maybe play video games. But like, I always end up back here because this is my happy place, I guess, sitting here and making stuff.
It's your job hobby.
Yeah, exactly. And, I mean, I think that's where the fortunateness, I think, comes in. And I think that's also part of it too, is like, because of the fact that we do feel so fortunate to be able to have that mix of, like, pleasure and supporting the family or providing a good life for yourself, there is that element of like, well, maybe I don't get to like think about retirement and things like that, right?
Yeah.
You know, but it's like, you know, there are ways to navigate, I think, some of these conversations. But to your point, like I've sat down at, you know, 'cause, you know, the family here goes to bed early, and I've sat down at the TV probably 6 different times to watch Tenet, only to be like, I bet I can probably get that rig to work if I do this.
Yeah.
And I just get back up and I walk back over, and next thing I know, it's, you know, 12:30 at night again, and I'm like, well, I'm gonna hit snooze at least twice.
Well, and also, you know, it's going to take 6 times watching Tenet to figure out what the hell is going on. But yeah.
Exactly. But yeah, so you know, I mean, that's been a lot. I think a long and short of like what I've been up to. You know, besides obviously like the NFT thing that I, you know, I'm actually still doing. It's just I got incredibly busy because like, oh, by the way, summer is usually the high season. I was like so grumpy at myself, like why haven't I been on top of things? And I was like, oh wait, it's because the summer just happened and I was stupidly busy on projects and that were like leaking into the evening. But yeah, so I'm hopping back into there right now. That was actually a really fun process. You know, yay, I sold a couple, and I have a couple that are collecting dust, as you know, as most you know mortals do. And but for me, what I really liked the most about it was, again, this idea of like back to basics, like doing these builds that weren't about fancy render engines, weren't about particle sims, weren't about learning how can I get Houdini to speak to this. It's like it was legitimately open the software and soup to nuts. What can you do with the most basic version of cinema?
Yeah.
Like tracers and, you know, basic sculpting tools, no plugins, no nothing. Just make something that felt like something.
Yeah.
Because I think for me that was like I got into this place of like everything was just feeling so pretty and packaged and easily consumable. And I had just stopped feeling anything for most of the stuff I was looking at.
Yeah.
And so I really wanted, and again, I don't know if I even successfully managed to do something that made me feel anything, but like I wanted to just feel like there was a viscerality in the way that I was making something again, and forcing myself to be really uncomfortable and have these like deeper constraints, not just timeline and stupid clients, but like it was a really good way as well, I think, to deal with the paralysis of, okay, if I'm going to go after doing this for, you know, damn near 20 years, I'm going to go over and I'm going to make an art piece after having not had a gallery show or my own work for ages, right? So the culmination of my entire career that spanned, you know, CDing LP, working with Kanye, and doing this movie, and doing that thing, and doing this great project, and that great project. And it's like, and now I'm going to do an art piece. This thing is going to feel like the penultimate summation of where I'm at in life. Because I'm now finally getting back and doing what would he do if given his own druthers. Well, that's a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
There's no way to encapsulate an entire career in some ridiculous piece that you're gonna be able to squeeze in your off hours.
Yeah,
right.
Absolutely.
You have to be inspired to do it.
Yeah,
too,
yeah, right.
You know? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. You know, but people like, but you could feel this. You could feel the push that, you know, that like guttural, you know, platelet that was like smashing people to like want to make this thing, because if you don't do it now, you don't know if you could be going stratospheric or not, as your peers are getting selected, and you know the claw keeps coming down and grabbing your friends and wheeling them off
analogy.
To,
yeah,
you know, to this to this rapture on the other side of you know swimming in ETH. And and so if you're not participating, you're just on the sidelines, right?
Yeah.
And so for me, it was this thing of like, you know, because I'm so Brooklyn hipster about all this, you know, like that, like you didn't want to jump in head first with like, being, feeling fake or schmaltzy about this stuff, or like going in like, me too.
Yeah.
So, and so I was like, okay, let's get me out of the way. Let's get me and my ego and everything that's, that is the problem. Because all those emotions are the problem. It is just about, why are you here? You're here because you like making something, and someone's telling you, hey, there could be some value in you making something for you and not just posting it to Instagram.
Right.
Okay. And making Zuckerberg, a little, a little more wealthy with, because you're excited to get some likes. And so for me, this idea of like, okay, let's just make this about restraint and constriction. Work within a system and just solve for X. And you're feeling a certain way about what the work is that you're being asked to make and what you feel like you're seeing. I want to make something ugly. Okay, that's an interesting prompt. Well, how do you want to make it? Well, you can use anything. Okay, well, let's use nothing. And so like that, like very simple mechanism of such a tight constraint sandbox was so freeing. Because then all of a sudden you stop worrying about all the decisions you could have made, and now you're making the best with what you have in front of you. Sometimes just sitting down and working with the Sculpey is actually really freeing. If for those of you who have kids, it's like, drawing something with crayons sometimes can actually be really freeing because you're not going to do a good job.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
And so like being able to have these kind of constraints, like I went back to even like lessons back in art school when I had a teacher who forced us to just choose one material to make this whole piece out of. So like I had like metal dowels. Or these like metal rods that I had, basically metal rods and a set of pliers, and I made like a bunch of these like 6 foot tall freestanding people, trying to make them feel like how I would like sketch people, right? These kinds of like moments though, like constraint can create really interesting elastic and plastic moments in your mind where you're now having to navigate and problem solve in a new dimension and a new way. That there was actually like a really fun creativity that I was seeing even inside of my process. That I hadn't really accessed. I knew how to do. I just never put it together that way because I never had to. And so then coming out of that, I was actually really motivated now to come back over and use the tools again and be really intentional and start getting rid of certain tools that like I just had around that I wasn't really using.
So you can get rid of some of those subscriptions.
That was great.
Yeah.
And so like now, like when I am going back, to Insidium stuff, like I'm being really intentional of why I'm there to use it. I'm not using tools to fix my design. I'm figuring out the design up front now, and then when those tools come in, now they actually are. It's because I needed that thing to show back.
Yeah, they have more of a purpose.
Exactly. Yeah. Being intentional, being purposeful, versus just kit bashing and just throwing stuff into the scene.
Throw some lens flares on it.
Yeah.
I just felt like I just, you get to a place where you're just throwing so much shit at the screen.
Yeah. Dirty it up, put some overlay of particles on it, lens flare, some noise.
Yeah.
There you go. Done.
So it was, so it was good. It felt very, to the Brooklyn hipster point, it felt very farm to table though. Of like, this piece is fully organic. Sculpted by hand, not kit bashed. All textures and materials are procedural and built only using in cinema. Like, but it felt kind of okay. Yeah. Like it, to not be using a mega scan to solve my problems.
Yeah, right. For sure.
Yeah,
for sure.
Renzo says you're the Marie Kondo of Mograph. Does it bring you joy?
It did bring me joy. It did bring me joy.
The chat saying like there should be memes of like your neck because your neck is so strong it supports your giant brain.
Oh. No, I mean, I can't take credit for it, though. That's all subconscious stuff. You know, the me you're talking to is just the idiot running the front of house.
Yeah.
What would you tell somebody who's struggling with that, right? With all the thing, not just like the creativity thing, but all of it. Who's even as far as like, I am sure there are plenty of people listening right now who are like, man, they've got a bunch of work. I don't have a bunch of work. Like, you know, that's great for you because clients are calling left and right, or you got big projects, but I don't. They're maybe trying to get more work. Maybe, I mean, they didn't have 20 years before COVID to build up a client base, right?
Fair.
Yeah.
This is an important moment. If you're by yourself and you're feeling alone, this is a moment to try to you gotta have people.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a moment to be vulnerable. This is a moment to be able to put yourself out there in a way that might be a little uncomfortable, I think. Because I can't tell you how many conversations I had with people where it felt like they were just flipping the Rubik's Cube over to a different side to see if it maybe made more sense by just keep looking at it from a different perspective to see if they could figure out how to solve this thing that was nagging at them, this problem that was eating at them. And most of us who've kind of expressed that, struggle of trying to get through an idea or wrap their head around something, it's really come out in resolving it through actually conversation with someone else. A big thing for me was even talking to someone else. I have this element where I don't realize I think something until I say it in a conversation. Again, this aspect of like, I can't take credit for what the crocodile portion of the brain is figuring out. So like, as I'm saying something and I realize like, oh, wait,
yeah,
I do miss mentorship. I do actually have issue with how certain jobs are being run, how people are being treated. Like, I didn't realize I was thinking that way. And it wasn't so much even a matter of someone else had to come tell me what I needed to do. I just needed to get the stuff out there and be able to verbalize it. And either A, there's this kind of like, you put it out there in the universe and the flow hopefully changes in a way that it opens things up for you, or B, you start clocking things that you didn't realize you were feeling, and now all of a sudden, having said it, you're like, oh shit, now I need to kind of come right and actually follow suit with what I'm saying here. But if you're just keeping all this stuff inside, then you're just sitting there trying to find some clever solution to something that is so abstract.
It's almost like the analogy of, have you ever prepared a tutorial or a presentation, and as you're explaining something, you're almost realizing what it is that you're talking about in your head? It's almost that same kind of feeling.
100%, because like, we don't spend a whole lot of time doing the art history or the retrospective on ourselves, as like it's so easy to come up with opinions about someone sitting across from you. But most people wildly lack a self-reflexive tendency to really understand with any deep sense of clarity where they are in their life. You're just struggling with what you're struggling with, and everyone struggles with something. And no matter who it is, I mean, even people, maybe it's just cheese, who knows? But everyone struggles with something, and so those kinds of moments, like, it's important to be able to kind of get those kind of things out. I mean, like, I realized, so when I did the Maximum presentation, it was actually a really cool moment because first off, it was terrifying. It was the most nerve-wracking presentation I'd ever done, because you don't get to vamp up on stage, right? Like, you don't have you don't have a neckbeard sitting up front that like gets up and walks away. You're like, okay, this section's boring. I'm going to move along here. Right?
Yeah.
There's no ability to gauge audience reaction of what's going on.
Right.
You're just talking into this soulless mic that's just staring at you, judging you, and you're looking at a Premiere Pro timeline that's empty.
Yeah.
And you're like, how long is this supposed to be again? An hour? Shit. But what was interesting though is as I started going through there, I actually kind of managed to kind of understand even the journey that I was on visually, as I was like starting to kind of like realize like what like Dreamcorp LLC had done to inform other projects and how I was trying to work, and you could almost see a narrative that was starting to kind of create. But again, you don't have those moments until you say it to someone else. Until you tell the story a little bit of what you went through, and then all of a sudden, as you're talking about it, you're like, oh. Then you can start picking up these like little clever takeaways of like, oh, so this is actually where I stand right now.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
But you have to get that stuff out loud a little bit.
Yeah.
So that's a long-winded answer, as you probably were anticipating, towards it. But I would say that, look, getting on the Slack and doing things like that, that's a big part and parcel of it, and if you feel safer in the tribalism of the smaller Discords, find those, like having those small one-off places that you feel like maybe you can speak a little more freely. Because there is an aspect of a podium, that happens on a Slack that, maybe you don't feel like being publicly pantsed,
Yeah.
And that's fair.
Yeah.
But, find somewhere that you feel like you can have a dialogue with someone that isn't just 10 minutes and a quick back and forth. Being able to do, a video stream or something that you can talk about this stuff, and look, and as things open up, being able to have a beer with someone, it's, I think it's important to be able to just get those abstract guttural thoughts out, so that way you can clock them a little bit, because you're not going to solve them until you say out loud what your problems actually are.
Yeah, there's only certain places I feel like you can really vent in life, like fully vent. You don't want to like fully vent on the internet most of the time.
Yeah.
Because you're going to end up venting and something's going to come back and bite you. But I think that's kind of the feeling with the smaller Discords. And I mean, a good example of that, I guess, is probably our Halo group, even, because it's not a place where there is any record of what happened. It's not written down. It's everybody's hanging out at the end of a long day and kind of just says, man, you know what really bugged me today? And you can just go off on that and not worry about anybody really getting upset or it's very helpful. Yeah,
I think it's therapeutic for people right now, just to be able to have that kind of outlet. And but again, it just sucks that that you have to kind of create that opportunity for yourself so intentionally right now. And I think that's the part that can feel a little bit false at times.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm definitely prone to being quiet and wallflowering, and so like for me, like I felt really out of place actually, like in this like digital environment when COVID hit, because like
I can see that. Yeah.
I'm not a social media person.
Right.
Like, I don't want, like, I'm not particularly curious in sounding like a fortune cookie on Twitter, or, posting more on Insta. I didn't have I was on the Slacks, but that's not really like a real like replacement for the kind of conversation styles that I like having, as you guys well know. Like when I'm in a room with someone and I get, and I get passionate and my voice breaks a little bit, like, those are the conversations that keep me vertical.
Yeah, late nights with Max on Rick over a couple beers,
Yeah.
poor guy's so patient. But yeah, like those are the things that like that's what makes me tick.
Yeah.
Walking with someone to grab a coffee and like working through a problem, like it, and so like I had to get intentional.
Yeah, I've actually done a couple Skypes recently that were on the books, on the calendar, but they were not
Yeah.
for any business in particular. It's just like, hey, EJ, hey, Ryan, let's do a call. Let's
Hang
just
out.
do a
Let's
call. We're
talk.
just gonna hang
Yeah.
out.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
no,
Just shoot the shit for a
yeah,
minute.
like let's sit on this call. It's gonna be Thursday at 1:00. We're gonna hop on Skype, and just like it's something planned for a client or another contractor or anything else, intentionally setting that up, so that you can catch up with people.
For sure.
Yeah. It just being able to talk with someone, I think it's important for people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then beyond that, I would tell any freelancer that's listening to this right now that if you're not busy, reach out to the studios whose work you like.
Mm-hmm.
Let them know that you'd be interested in working with them, because everyone's having a hard time doing resourcing right now. So if you're not busy, this is an opportunity. Or even if you are busy, but maybe you're looking for a change. Everyone needs hands on deck, and especially capable, trustworthy hands that someone feels like maybe they can clock a little bit what they're up to. So if you haven't reached out to a group in a while, reach out to them.
Yeah.
Because nothing makes a studio happier than someone reaching out saying, I like your work. Because immediately they're like, cool, I'm not going to ask you to be bending over backwards to do something that you don't want to do.
Yeah.
Like, if you like what we do, then let's hang out. Because like everyone's shopping hungry right now. So it's a good opportunity to get yourself in front of someone.
And to reiterate a point we've brought up many times, if you're creating work that is what you want to do, let's say you're doing NFTs on the side or you're doing personal work, create the type of work that you want to get. Because
absolutely.
And that's a problem. That's a problem that Matt and I have right now. We've got a ton of work we can't show, which is the work we want to get, and can't put that out there. And we got a bunch of old work. We're going to have to kind of revamp and make some things that's the work we want to get. If we need to put anything on the internet or whatever, we've been fortunate. Just stuff keeps coming in, and we don't have to really update the site. But you still need to think about that, because as soon as a lull happens, you're going to want to send something out. You're going to want to say, hey, by the way, I'm available, and do that thing and say, hey, I really like your stuff. But if you reach out to Marvel or somebody who's working on Marvel movies, and you say, I really like your stuff, I'd love to work with you, but you don't have anything that looks anything like that. You've just got like 2 Instagram posts, and they're like 2D animation and After Effects. They're not going to hire you, because they're like, oh, sure, come on board. You're good at 2D, so obviously you can do Marvel movies. You've got to be able to show that stuff. And we say that all the time, but I just wanted to emphasize that again.
No, yeah. I mean, this does start getting a little bit into, there's a self-awareness aspect, right? Being able to do like a clear personal audit of understanding like what you're up to, right? If you're doing a bunch of 2D and cell stuff, and you're going to reach out to MVM, like you might confuse them for a second, I mean, mind you, they do actually kind of breach into there. So if it's cool looking, they might be able to find a good place to stick you. But being able to remember that your website is your narrative that you're creating for someone who doesn't know you from Adam, and so what you're putting on there is what an outsider who doesn't know you thinks you want to show. So if everything that's on your site is something that kind of makes you cringe, that's remember
what you're gonna get at.
Like that's the smell that studio or group is seeing for the first time as well. And
with this last project that we did, we were looking for people, like, because everyone got busy. I could not staff this job to save my life, near like halfway through it. Everyone else who we had originally just got
doing
busy.
NFTs.
They were doing other work and stuff like that. So we're trying to find some more people, and the first place I go is their site, check out their reel, and it's like, okay, I'm doing a mental checklist. It's like, okay, X particles, yes, or some sort of particles. Smoke,
Yeah.
fire, good, yes, okay. Design, good. Layout, awesome. Okay, perfect. I think he can handle, or they can handle some of this easier stuff, and if they can do that, then they move on to the next stuff.
Right.
And
Yeah.
it's like, and what's great about that is once you find someone who can handle that stuff, it's like they then become my go-to. You
Oh, yeah.
know,
Yeah.
it's like, oh, you were able to do this, and then they work in a professional manner. They get the stuff done on time, and they are very, I can count on them.
Mhm.
It's like, all right, you are my go-to from now on.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know.
Oh yeah. Well, and I think that's the thing that people get shook up about a little bit is they worry that and so this will sound like I'm kind of flipping against what I said a second ago, but like they get worried that if you're not as good as Dino on doing car renders, and at the same time not as good as this cat on doing Sims, and this one as doing animating, then there's no way that you'll ever be able to be part of like that tendril team that's doing like the Microsoft stuff, right?
Sure.
It's like it's not really how this stuff works. You do business with who you're talking to.
Mm-hmm.
And so a known quantity oftentimes is going to be more important than a potentially superior technical executor.
Right.
Because even if I see their work and I'm like, they're rad, or I think they're rad, but I know you, and I know what you can do, and I know where I can put you to get an expected result, that's going to get filled easier and faster than a unicorn out there, especially because of the fact that everyone thinks that everyone else is off the table right now.
Yeah.
Right? The freelancer thinks that the studio is doing so much rad stuff that they don't want to hear from them. The studio is looking at the artists saying, they're doing so much stuff right now and everyone's so busy, they don't want to hear from us right now.
Yeah.
So everyone thinks that the other one is unavailable. So you have to kind of break that tie a little bit.
It comes back to those personal relationships too, because you might not have the best reel, but you have a close relationship with a person who knows that you have the technical ability, or you have a relationship. We've got a bunch of people that we have shown some of our NDA stuff to, because we're allowed to show it behind the scenes. So like, if we're friends with somebody and there's a gig that's going to happen, they kind of know what we're capable of, but the outsiders, the cold callers don't, and that's where I'm like, oh man, the reel, you want to see my reel? Ugh. Like, so it's back to that relationship, because the inner circle kind of understands the capabilities.
Right.
So.
It's a big part and parcel of it, I mean, the other thing I talk about too. So like, there's an artist that we brought on recently, and you know what it was of why he ended up winning out over others? Wasn't actually like the technical skills. It was actually his perspective. His ability to kind of like deconstruct and shred a couple like current aesthetics that were happening. And then I was like, okay, I like this. And then I was like, give me a couple references of, visual artists or people that you like. And it's like a bunch of stuff from like the early 80s, 60s, and 70s. And I was like, rad.
Yeah.
Right.
I know that whatever I throw you, you're not going to come back at me with an approach that I'm seeing 15 others that are currently trend chasing something. You're bringing me something else. And that had nothing to do with their understanding of cinema, AE, anything else. And mind you, there's a baseline necessity of like, of being literate on these things. But the thought process that they were going through felt so in line with that kind of off the beaten path aspect that they were brought on not because of the technical execution of their previous projects, but because of the direction that they wish to go in life.
Yeah, I like
And
that. I like that
Yeah.
a lot.
And I was like, that's rad. I can teach you buttons,
Yeah.
Yeah.
but I can't teach you a broken brain. Like
Yeah.
that's you gotta bring me your damaged goods. And his were damaged just right. That I was
Yeah.
like, I can weaponize you.
Yeah.
You know?
That's cool. I like that. I like that.
Pedro says in the chat, personal projects are meant to fill the gap between the not so sexy work and the NDA projects you can't show yet. I like that, and that's something that I try and do if I've learned something in a project that I can't show, to do something else using something I learned from that, or a style, or pulling a style from something that I really liked that I can't show, or something. You know, that's worked really well.
Well, I mean, like, I know for me, personal projects are always the thing of like, do the thing that no one's asking you to do that you'd rather be doing.
Right.
So like, you know, so like that's why I think for me, like, I felt like everything I was making was so pretty, you know, and kind of shallow for a second, that I was like, I'll want something ugly and, you know, really like velocity based. Right? Like I wanted to feel like rate and pacing. I feel like I wasn't having those conversations, and I felt like I wanted something that felt grungy, you know, because no one was asking me to make something ugly. Everyone just wanted something pretty.
Yeah.
And so, you know, and so like being able to scratch that itch, you know, and then of course this, you know, I make it, I put it out there, and within, you know, 2 months, I have a project coming up that's exactly that.
That's
you know,
rad.
Yeah.
That's
and
super
so
rad.
it's like, and so I was like, okay, cool. You know, like you put that stuff out there, you know, because that, you know, again, that allows you to direct the narrative of this is what I'm up to. Because if it's just about the work you're doing, that's reactive. So while you do have the ability to pick and choose the projects that you could say, you know, yes to, you don't have a control over what the client's going to ultimately pick.
Right.
I have plenty of projects that, you know, I won't tell stories out of school, but we thought we're going to look a certain way, and it ended up looking a slightly different way.
Yeah.
And so, and so even in your ability to pick the projects, because you think that's going to help you direct the course and directionality of what you're up to, in order to kind of say, we are this kind of group, I am this kind of artist. It's still going to be reactionary in its nature. So the personal projects and things that are self-initiated like that are the one moment that you get to basically kind of, you know, 9-iron this work out in front of anything else, and just be able to really curate what you are up to and what you are interested in.
This is an interesting question here in the chat. Amen, I believe that's how you pronounce it. Sorry if I pronounced that wrong. What should I do with this? I'm working with a studio that I was dreaming to work with, but now I feel I was happier when I was a freelancer.
I get that. It's.
Wait,
I get it. Working with the dream studio, but still feeling like freelance life was better.
Well, yeah, I mean, all right. So you're dating someone, and it's right, and it's easy peasy, right? Keeping it loose, keeping it fun. You know, you can come. You
Finally
can go,
dating your crush, and then
right?
Yeah.
That's and so there's a couple things that happen, right? When you're dating, you can still go. You still get to like say, hey, I'm gonna go for the weekend, you know, and there's no strings attached.
Yeah.
Right? Like, we don't live together. We don't share a checking account.
Right.
Right? So you don't have to take on everyone's, like, all of their burdens. You still have autonomy. You still have the ability to be like, okay, you're getting a bit much. Peace. Like, I'm gonna be busy. I'm gonna be busy for a few days. Right? And so you can tell a studio that when you're freelancing, hey, generally we work well, but I'm going to take a minute. You're having a bit of a moment here, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, and that actually just even jumps past the initial thing, which is like landing the crush, right?
Mm-hmm.
You land the studio you really wanted to work at. You're so stoked that they said yes. Sorry, that was actually the happiest you were probably going to be right there, right? The second that they said, sure, we're signing you on, that moment of happiness and exalted feeling that they chose you,
Mm-hmm.
that you picked me,
Mm-hmm.
like,
Mm-hmm.
apologies, that's probably the happiest you're going to be for the next 6 months.
Yeah.
So they pick you. That's great. Now comes, now comes the immediate moment afterwards where now you actually have to start. They're great. Thanks for joining us. Here's the shovel. Start going. And you're like, oh, that's right. We still shovel shit. Doesn't matter who for.
Yeah.
So now you're going through the motions and you're like, okay, well, but it's cool because like now I can say like I'm working with this group and they're rad and the project's rad and I'm rad because it's all rad and my boards got shut down again. That's fine. I'm still working with the same group, and then it's working and everyone's getting comfortable. Toothbrushes are getting left over, and and someone maybe offers you a full-time position at the place that you were so stoked to be working with.
Mm-hmm.
Now you get to own each other's bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
And so now all like the staff members you didn't really have to deal with before, like all those things, now you're in bed together.
Mm-hmm.
Now you're tethered, for better and for worse. Unless you want to quit. Do you want to really quit? And so it gets messy. Like, those commitments, the deeper you get, the heavier those relationships are going to be. And it's not breezy. Freelance is a breezy life.
Mm-hmm.
It is a treadmill.
Mm-hmm.
My new sock analogy.
Yeah.
Every project is new for 5 seconds, and then it's just like the other pile of shit you have behind you.
Right.
Yeah.
Sorry for language, but
Fine.
and so freelance is just this rinse and repeat game. Rinse and repeat. Get yourself up for the next one, and that that's not going to be geared towards growth, or mentorship, or what your influence is to other people, how you train other, like all those other things, right? That if you are full-time at a studio, you do get to start growing some roots. Same way that if you rent a house, you can't knock down a wall. You can't make the house exactly how you want it. You take it for what it is, right?
Yeah.
Once you move in and you take up shop somewhere, you do get to start taking a hammer to some walls. You do get to repaint some stuff. You do get to tear up the turf out back.
Yeah.
And you can start making it the place you want to be.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
But that comes at a cost.
Yeah.
You are now entangled, and it's now going to get heavy.
The chat says you need to write a book on all of this. When's your book coming out?
Yeah.
Yeah. I wish we didn't have like a hard out today because like there's so we're gonna have to like save Ricardo's questions for the next show because of our hard out.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of projects that we can't show, we got a meeting for yet another NDA project that we won't be able to show anywhere. But let me real quick go through some links and we'll do the drop, and if we have time after that, we'll maybe address some of these other questions.
Speed round. It's just speed round.
Yeah. All right, so links. I just wanted to mention that Rocket Lasso, Chris Schmidt, there's a new plugin that's out right now, is Mesh to Spline. So check that out. Also, a link to, I don't know if you remember the YouTuber who like fixed Luke Skywalker in Mandalorian by doing the deepfake. So Lucasfilm hired him.
Yeah.
So see,
I think it's hilarious.
That's great. And there's a link to that. And then I also just wanted to mention French Monkey finished his dailies at capped at 1,000.
Oh, really?
And is and has the 1,000 project with all the files and things. So go check that out. I'll put that link in the show notes. So
awesome.
Just wanted to let you know that you can get all of that. And I think that's about it. I think we need to go to the drop. You ready for the drop?
I'm not ready for the drop. I need to
You're
bring up my
not?
notes. Sorry.
All
No,
right.
I'm not.
Well,
I think I would be.
I can do the intro, right?
Do the intro.
Okay, let's
I'll
go.
get there. I'll get there quickly, hopefully.
All right, here we go.
Drop.
Is this the fucking mic? This is exactly what I should be doing.
What's up, and welcome to this week's episode of The Drop, your weekly source for all things NFT and crypto art, as well as upcoming drops by notable people in the Mograph industry. I'm Matt Milstead. Joining me, as always, Dave Koss, and joining us this week is our good friend, Mr. Brendan Parvini.
Hi, everybody.
So let's start off with I went to go look at the drops this week on the places. And very I don't know if this is indicative of the actual industry, the NFT industry as it is, or whether Nifty Gateway has seen it's the amount of I don't know. So have you guys seen some of those charts of of market share for NFTs and stuff? And at the beginning it was oh yeah, Nifty Gateway had a huge amount. Now it's Nifty Gateway is literally just a small sliver of it. Most people have gone over to Foundation or Maker's Place or and it's very interesting to see. But I did notice there are literally only 5 drops this week. 5 artists, which I think is great. It's cool to see stuff like that become a little bit more sparse versus loading people full of artists and stuff like that. And so really excited to see Nifty Gateway starting to bring down the amount of people that they're dropping each day. So starting off today, we've got Steve Aoki doing a drop. I don't know what this is. Meet Chonk and Swole, two of the newest characters introduced by Stupid Buddy and me in the first episodic series to be on the blockchain. Yeah, it's neat. So
I mean, he's into NFTs. You can see he's got a CryptoPunk here in his.
Oh, he's got CryptoPunk.
Yeah, his avatar. So yeah.
I'm you're gonna think I'm an idiot, but I don't know anything about Steve Aoki other than
he's been around forever.
They do NFTs, and Bo Burnham mentions him on one of his songs.
Oh, really?
In the new Inside. Yeah.
That's
so
funny.
I don't know. Steve Aoki.
All right.
So all right. So that's today. Tomorrow, the artist Lush Sucks is doing a drop. These are all memes or something. I don't know. Lush Sucks is an Australian artist, and I don't know. He basically talks about just buy my stuff and give me money. That's what he's talking about on this video right now.
All right.
I don't know. And he's also talking about copyright stuff. I don't know. It's interesting. So that's the 3rd. Let's see. On the 6th, there's another one in between here, but they didn't have a Twitter account. And you know me, if they don't, they're not willing to post anything on their Twitter account.
Pushing their own stuff.
One.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't care about this. This one was interesting. On the 6th, it's a collab with Hakatoa and Blondie, the artist Blondie, which I thought was pretty cool. So,
all right, cool.
Super. That's cool to see Blondie getting into the space. I guess. I don't know. Haven't heard anything about Blondie in years, so that's cool. And then on the 8th, Aloe Black and Danny P3D. So I don't know. It looked pretty cool. I like it.
Brain stuff.
It's yeah, cool Mography, weird, gross stuff.
Gross eyeballs.
Rad. I love the way the wires are moving, with it, that secondary motion and stuff. Very pretty, cool stuff.
Cool.
And then that same day, the 33 NFT, I didn't put this on there.
Yeah.
33 NFT is doing a curated drop. So I think 33 NFT is like a virtual museum or something like that. I'm not 100% sure. So that's it for the Nifty Gateway drops. Next up on Maker's Place, first up.
Somehow I double copied these things over. I've got to go find your links for Nifty real quick. Or no, for what do you call it?
For Maker's Place.
For Maker's Place. Oh, here we go. I got them. We're good.
That's okay.
Yeah.
First up on the 3rd, which is tomorrow, Nick Sulo doing one Big Tech Hard Meds. I thought this one was cool. I love the glowy stuff. The pinks,
Cool.
and the blues. Like I feel like if you were to define the
nice.
like 2015 and on, we'll say to 2025, I would say it would be defined by pink and blue. Pink and blue defines 2015
All right.
2025. So eventually you'll get away from the pinks and blues. We're gonna have something else. Let's see. Then 8/4, August 4th, you've got Skeeny, reanimated ink paintings. Which this one was pretty cool. So it's some animation stuff with
it's like 2D, 2.5D.
Yeah, 2.5D stuff. Kind of neat looking. I like it. And then on the 5th, Jose Delbo, the former DC artist, Death Reanimated Part 2. So this is some new stuff from Jose Delbo, the former whatchamacallit, artist.
Comic book?
I keep on wanting to say Warner Brothers, but it's not
Warner
Warner
Brothers?
Brothers. It's DC.
Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about. Jeez. It's because, Warner Brothers has all the DC content that they're releasing.
Yeah.
Anyway, I got confused. Anyway, then we had one community drop this week. Francisco Garcia Nava.
Actually, we got a couple of them. I've
we
got
do?
some in here too. Yeah.
Cool. Okay. Well, let's start with this one from Francisco. Francisco did this drop on Foundation. Called All Tomorrow's Parties. It's very pretty. I love I like the colors. I like the colors. Very pretty.
We've also got. I wanted to mention Luis's Spookies.
Oh yeah.
Because I think this has been going pretty well. He's got all these different Spookies characters. A lot of people getting in on the like character collectibles.
Yeah, the
thing.
character collectibles.
He's got all these different ones.
It was really good. I like
Yeah.
the Spookies.
I think it's a cool because he's does a lot of like scary
I mean, you've got the
stuff and all that. Like
CryptoPunk.
it's
You've
kind
got
of
the what are the monkeys? The gorillas or whatever.
oh yeah,
yeah,
the
You've
chimps,
seen
right?
those. Yeah, the chimps. And then
But this is kind of cool because
Spookies.
this
I
is
like
like he's way into like the scary animations and stuff, and so this is kind of in his will, like the scary thing. That's why it's kind of cool. So
Totally.
yeah, I like that. We also had I also wanted to mention that Windbush's NFT. Remember we were talking about the Omart or Omart. I don't know how you pronounce it, but his sold. So they did. This was an actual show, and his actually sold before the show even started. He told me, which is interesting. He had these in there. I got some audio here. I'll turn that off. But there was a private showing, I guess, beforehand, before the show, and they were bought before the show even started. And then there's also some video that you can find here in our show notes.
Was that the same show that
the show itself?
That Brodeur and Blake Catherine were at?
This is the one in China. This is the one in China.
Oh, that's the one in China. Okay,
yeah,
cool.
this is the I'm Meta one that we were talking about with him on the show last time. Yeah. And so there's video of this here if you want to check out, see what the show looked like. And then lastly, I also wanted to mention this one. And I just have an Instagram link for it right now, just offhand. I'll see if I can find the actual, let's see, 6 days ago. I think this was Friday that this drop happened. I don't have the info on it. I bookmarked it a while back. But our friend Paul teamed up with Tori Bryant, who we had on last week. And they did an NFT together as well. So I'll try and, this is the Instagram, I'll try and link to the actual piece so you can check it out on Foundation or whatever. But he's
That's cool.
he's getting a lot into doing the 3D
That's the
stuff.
one that I was looking for. Yeah.
Yeah, pretty cool. I think that is all the links. Do we have any other links? Any other crypto links and whatnot?
That's it. Brandon, you got any drops? Any new drops? I'm a huge fan of your drops.
Thank you.
Yes.
I have one more coming. I'm in the middle of working on right now, and then I have I think I'm gonna wrap out the current series style that I've been on after this next one, and then I'm gonna start pivoting to some new execution paths.
So pretty.
Yeah, I have one last one. I'm gonna change the style a little bit on this next one. I think I might go black metal. With and black metal as almost that kind of sludge metal style of illustration work. So I'm kind of exploring that one. But yeah, hopefully with a little bit of mental bandwidth, I can kind of finish that one out. It's been a busy couple months for your friend
Yeah,
B.
of course.
Yeah. Stuff looks great, man.
Yeah, they've been fun to do.
Yeah.
Pedro in the chat says you should team up with Queens of the Stone Age.
Oh, that'd be fun.
Yeah.
I'd be super into that one.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, my other two are kind of sitting up there. I was kicking around. Again, my whole thing is I'm enjoying doing it, and it was cool that the ones that sold did sell. I don't know why they sold, and I don't know why the ones that I have up there didn't sell.
Yeah.
I was like, I can lower the price, or I don't care. It's just kind of doing whatever it's going to do. And
I think that's the way. I think that's the future of NFTs.
Yeah.
It's going to be like posting on Instagram. Only you sell your work as well. Yeah, exactly. And it's so I'll be intrigued to see, what ends up happening. But for me, I think the most important thing is the idea of being able to have that self-motivated work that you're doing for you. I'm just going to keep doing that, and each time I finish a piece that I'm excited about doing, I will go put it to there,
And that's the best way to do it, because you don't want to put a bunch of stuff out there that you don't really feel like you were passionate about, that you're selling, you're or you're just putting out just random garbage. If not, hey, buy this thing. It's like
and there was definitely that pressure I felt at one point of keep going, and it's nah, I'm not really particularly interested in being prolific in that kind of way. I don't need to get into the dailies game and just attach an NFT on the backside of it. The visual garbage element is part of what frustrated me with the dailies in that aspect, and what I found frustrating with the NFTs, when it was hitting its peak, kind of moment, and so again, it's that Brooklyn hipster, all right, cool, I'm just gonna go plod along and just do my thing at my pace, and it's selfish and it's for me,
Good.
Yeah.
Oh
wow,
boy.
I just sold one of my. I just got a notification that one of my Nifties sold.
Hey,
with you.
somebody
That's
say
so cool.
Somebody say nifty.
Wow.
How's it going, Matt?
It's good.
Yeah, I'm back from
Man, it's
vacation
been
as
a
well.
while since I've seen you, Dorpy. I almost forgot you existed.
Yeah, I know. I'm back from vacation as well. I spent a couple
good.
nights getting shih tzu faced.
Oh gosh. That's funny.
I got to get back to my diet though. Keep my dog bod. I went to my dog tour. My doctor. And he said,
Got it,
lay off the pepperoni and switch to cauliflower. Yeah. So I got to get going. I got to go work out now. No more lying around watching movies, like Bark Side of the Moon. Which, by the way, they say if you start Who Let the Dogs Out at the same time, it lines up. Okay,
Wait,
bye.
Wow,
he's
those
gone.
were two different songs. Those were Dark Side of the Moon and Who Let the Dogs Out. It's supposed to be
Bark
Wizard
Side
of
of
Oz.
the Bark Side of the Moon is a treasured music video. I thought you knew that. Like, it's
Oh,
it's
I
a
did not know
long
that.
episodic. Yeah, you don't know much about dog culture, do you?
I don't.
Okay, yeah.
All
I'm running out of material for Dorpy. I got to figure something out soon. Anything else on the NFT side we want to talk about today, or could we ask Brandon a couple more questions here in the regular part of the show? I think we should do that because we still have.
Let's do it back in the regular part of the show.
Alright.
For those who want to send us your drops or whatever, send it to info@mograph.com and we'll shill it on the show. So,
Yep.
let's get back to the regular show.
To drop. Drop.
Is this the fucking mic drop? This is exactly what I should be doing.
So there were a couple questions
Alright.
I think in the chat maybe we could address before we go. We do have a little bit more time here, which is good. I think Pedro asked a question. Let's see. I got to find it real quick. Do you remember what it was? Let's see. The studio question. Where is Pedro? Oh, he was on that's right. He was on Twitch. That's why. Oh, he had a question and I don't remember what it is. Somebody did ask about getting into a studio. If you want to get into a studio and you're trying to get into a studio, what would be your advice on that? Like if you have like a coveted studio that you want to get into.
Well, again, like I said, so for a lot of studios, they have what's called a resource manager. That resource manager is in charge of just trying to book people. So getting on, getting in with them is a really good kind of way to start it, to get your foot in from there. The other thing that I would actually recommend as well is figuring out the artists who work at that studio. So if there's CDs, 80s that work at that studio, being able to kind of find a way to connect with them is a great way to potentially come in too, because those people are ultimately going to be the ones who say, hey, this cat's up to something interesting, or they're really, they've been really cool. I've been talking with them on social. It's a great way to kind of like do a bit of an end around versus the kind of cattle call aspects that the resource manager is gonna be bringing. Right. I mean, so definitely keep yourself top of mind for the resource manager. And again, being able to reach out and say, hey, I'm a fan of the studio's work, and being clear as well about the kind of stuff that you do.
I think that's a great thing to do, like with somebody who works in a studio, especially if it's like a mentor type situation, Yeah. So it's like there's a couple different routes that I recommend with people. If you're reaching out to the studio, making sure that you're clear that like you don't just come up and say, hi, I do Mograph, would you like to work with me? It's like, what do you do?
Yeah.
Like, so these people are trying to solve for X. So, being able to be clear of like, hey, huge fan of your work, love X and Y piece, would love to find an opportunity should a project like that come up, to be able to work with you all on, I specialize in simulation, render, look dev, and animation. Okay, cool. Someone now has an understanding of like how to clock you, right? Now, like, you're trying to find a way to make yourself bite-size. Don't need to know the full backstory of, I grew up I grew up a happy boy in the hills of, like, no one cares. They just want to understand, for this project that's happening in 24 hours that we need to staff up for, where could I potentially slot you? Like,
it's not a recipe on the internet. You don't have to put the life story in.
Exactly. So being able to be briefed to that kind of way, when we talk about reaching out to an artist that you like, whose work you like, and potentially by in turn maybe being able to like develop a relationship there, being able to reach out to them on a piece that you like of theirs. And one piece of feedback that I like being able to tell someone, if you're really trying to create a genuine relationship with that person, is be specific about what it is that you like about their work. Doing another comment of like, this is dope with like 5 fire emojis means nothing.
Yeah.
Okay. Someone it changes the relationship when you say, look, what you're doing with your with your composition or your color palettes or your animation style, or I love the feels that you're being able to develop using X, Y, and Z. Have a compliment, like have something, like have a conversation starter that feels a little specific to the work is a great way to have someone feel as though they're being seen and that you're clocking what they're doing and why what they're doing is special.
You're like, oh, how did you get the particles to do this thing on that? Is a better comment than that render is fire.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I mean, I recently reached out to like Robot Pencil, and I was like, hey, are you projecting on the mesh right now, or are you doing this like fully 2D? He's like, no, I'm projecting on the mesh. It's like, now I have a conversation starter of like, well, how often do you like doing that? Like, now all of a sudden you're being able to talk shop with someone whose work you like, and now all of a sudden you're beginning to develop a dialogue.
Yeah.
It makes it much easier to say, hey, at the end of that, ever have something, I would love to help collaborate or contribute to this kind of an effort with you.
And a lot of times, if you're really impressive or impressing those people, they might not even ask, hey, are you available for this? They might, or they might not need you to say, hey, I'm available for this if you need me, because if you already have that relationship, like if somebody came to me and said like, I need this like specific toon look in cinema, and it looked like EJ's stuff, I'd be like, hey, EJ, are you available? Like, I don't need EJ's not going to come to me and say, hey, if you need any cartoon work done or like toon looking work, like he's not going to say that. Like if people already know what you're capable of, you don't even have to nudge them,
Exactly. But by creating that line of communication, it creates this notion that you're open to potentially talking with this person in a deeper way, so it's like, it's been really cool. Like for me, like when I get like really specific, like kindness that comes from certain artists, I'm like, Brad, I'm actually now open to like potentially working with this group. Because I have several of their artists that have reached out that are like, hey, I like what you're up to. What are you doing over here? Hey, have you ever thought of trying it like this? And it's like, oh, cool. I have a dialogue now with like multiple people at that shop, or like this, or now I have like an avenue over here. It starts adjusting the game a little bit. But now you're creating more meaningful relationships, rather than just another fire emoji.
That's the value of the community.
It's the thing where they say, like if you want to connect with someone, use their name, like while I was in Disney, anytime I had a question that was like, I kind of want to get something, I'd make sure to use the cast member's name when I was talking to them, because you'd have a much more friendly dialogue. It's something similar to that. You're creating a relationship without actually, it may be, lower level relationship, but they, people will connect with you more, by doing something like that. So, you're just trying to, the more opportunities you have to create genuine connections with other artists, even if they're super senior to you, like, it's, it's an opportunity. And it's free. Absolutely.
So that, those would be my two initial kind of starting points that I would say, and that has nothing to do with your skills. It has nothing to do with you licensing something or doing anything to be better. It has everything to do with you just engaging with someone at a human level.
Right.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And Pedro was asking if you do mostly studio work or direct with clients like businesses.
It bounces around, really. I mean, I couldn't sum that up really in any like one clear sense. I mean, I do work with agencies, I do work with network, I do work with direct to client, studio. But I've been doing this for a long time, so they show up from all kinds of broom closets these days.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's hard to package that up in any one like tight answer.
Well, I think we could go on forever, but we do have our heart
We
out
could.
that we're about to hit, and we got to get with you
Yeah.
about getting files and things after the show as well. So we gotta
Yeah.
get going, but we're gonna have to absolutely do this again a lot sooner
Yeah.
than later next time, and
Yeah.
hopefully
If
meet
you-
up in person.
If you
Yes.
come to NAB, Dave, we should really start considering doing a show. Oh, wait, never mind. I don't even know if you're going to be there. I
I
don't even know.
At best, you'll see me there for one day. Oh, by the way, I'll put the link in the show notes. The School of Motion meetup at NAB.
Yes.
That Sunday, that's happening. We're sponsoring. A bunch of other people are sponsoring. We'll talk about it more next show, but I'll put a link in there. But yes, yeah, I don't know about a show. I don't know if I'll
Yeah,
be at
maybe
NAB.
not a
I
show.
might be having a kid.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
kind of up in the air at this point whether or not I'm going to go to NAB or if we're going to be like,
Yeah.
it's too close. Just monitoring
Yeah.
that situation. So maybe one day just to make sure everything's cool and there's no tech issues. But that's
Yeah.
about all you'll get out of me.
Help
for
us get everything set up, and then
Yeah.
we're good to go.
Yeah. So, Brandon,
Okay.
where can people find you? Speaking of community and connecting with people on the internet.
Let's see here. So I mean, obviously you can. I'm on Twitter. B Parvini. You can ping me on Instagram. B_Parvini. Somehow there's another B Parvini out there. Some jerk took my. Yeah, I know, right? You'll find me on the Mograph.com Slack. And you can, if you want to hit me directly, I try my best to be prompt about responding to you. You can ping me at Brandon@alcom.tv. And we can get into deeper conversations from there. But yeah, don't be a stranger. I really try my best to chat back and answer questions that anyone may ever have with whatever terrible advice I have to give you.
Cool. All right.
Awesome.
We're going to get out of here. Hop on our call. You can rate us on iTunes. You can leave a review. Helps get our ratings up. Subscribe on your podcatcher of choice. Also, the newsletter. It will go out eventually. This month, I've been a little bit behind with my medical issues. So my thought was trying to finish my tutorial that I was
Yeah.
working on and put that in the
And then
newsletter.
send out yeah, there you go. That's smart. There you go.
But I haven't finished that yet, so the newsletter will go
Yep.
out soon. And you can say you've been there, done that, got the T-shirt with the Mograph logo tee, the Paul Babb Classic Feel the Babb 2020 shirt. All the profits from that go to Doctors Without Borders. Render Things T-shirt, hoodie, and long sleeve tee. That's our most popular one. That Render is Fire shirt, which you are only allowed to wear, ironically, unless you're shams.
Unless you're shams.
And then there's the Mograph Blandishment shirt, which I am wearing. The graphic blandishment shirt. You can get that on there. And we're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok. Some real fun stuff coming out on TikTok. Check us out there. Make sure you follow so we get more followers on our TikTok than my daughter has on her TikTok. It's a race. And
You're gonna lose.
I
Yeah,
know.
you're gonna lose.
I know.
You're gonna lose.
Yeah.
So we're on all the things. Check us out there. Again, Brandon, thank you so much.
Yeah,
It's
thank you
always
so much for being on the show.
amazing.
Always fun.
As
It's
usual.
always a blast. It's always a blast hanging out with you guys. I've been doing a clubhouse on Sundays with David Coe, James
Nice.
Ramirez, and it's been a really cool group. Ryan Summers has been hanging out. So
Sweet.
more questions and stuff like this. Again, for community aspects, just find areas to connect with people.
Sweet.
Yeah, totally.
All right.
Awesome.
Well, we're going to
Thanks,
get
man.
out of here. Appreciate it, and we'll see you on the interwebs. Until next time, I'm Dave,
And I'm Matt.
and you're...
Brandon.
Human. Brandon, thank you guys so much for having me on.
Yeah.
All right. Have a good one.
Later, yo. Good timing. The pizza person just pulled up.
Nice.
I'm gonna
Pizza
go grab a
person?
piece of
That's
pizza.
funny. All right, you can stop recording on your recording. I'm gonna shut off the stream here in a
I'm
second.
gonna go get my kids some food and then get on that meeting.